To start this podcast, we call it right now The Doctor and the DJ. And we've had a few guests, but we have a different guest today, which doesn't necessarily fit the Doctor and the DJ mold, or maybe it does. And I want to make sure I introduce you correctly. So, because I'm afraid.
Don't be afraid.
So do we say honorable? Do you say, because I heard, one of the guys that runs our podcast call you Lynn. And I was like, whoa. Lynn Toler? Your Honor, Lynn Toler? Honorable?
Now, most people, you should call me Lynn. Most people know me as Judge Lynn.
Judge Lynn?
But that's the known moniker, like Judge Judy. Once Judge Judy got together, every judge is now known by their first name.
Judge Lynn. So we can call you Judge Lynn?
Yeah.
Because you've been divorce court, marriage boot camp. I mean, your resume is pretty ridiculous when it comes to...
It's long.
Yeah.
It's long. Whether it's good, I don't know, but it's long.
I was on YouTube today. I wanted to check out some old episodes. So I go to YouTube, and there's I don't know if they're old, but they were posted yesterday and the day before. It's not.
They repost them all the time now. I was on for 14 years. Now somebody else is on it, but they repost them all because they're evergreen. It's always your relationship. Why are you and Bob not getting along? What are we fighting about? It's divorce court. It's really just a relationship show with a robe. Because it's about healthy relationships. And it got to the point where people would come, didn't want a divorce or didn't want to litigate anything. They came to get advice. So we started doing Before Your Vows and Save My Marriages, because I was good at assessing the dysfunction and being able to craft some kind of solution, even if that solution is get a bus ticket and run.
Wow.
Well, when you're behind the bench, do you sit like that?
Oh, look, I got no shoes on. Oh, I have all kinds of stuff under there.
Everything under the robe.
Oh, man, yeah. I never wear shoes.
For real? When you're on court, even like in real court, not TV court?
Real court, I stopped wearing shoes, too. I stopped wearing the robe, too, after a while. In the beginning, because I was elected judge in 1994, so I looked like I was about 12. And I was 30, 31, 32. No, I wasn't. I was 33. And I had to wear the robe and do all that kind of stuff because no one believed it. It just didn't make any sense. But after a while, and once I had a reputation, the trappings weren't important to me anymore.
So people come to court and you just be like wearing that?
Right on out there, no shoes on. Now, they couldn't see me because I could round that corner real quick. But they could see I didn't have a robe on. I didn't care.
I thought you were wearing a robe today.
Oh,
you came out.
Now that was originally a male-dominated profession because we would have known better than to make something that ugly.
Or at least that gray wig they always see in the English shows.
You're right.
We have the same thing that you see me at Benicera all the time. And of course, as a doctor, everybody walks around in their white coats. And I, for the last 15 years, have never worn a white coat. Because you
did last week. Remember, I go, what's with the coat?
And I said...
You said, I'm a doctor.
No, I said I'm cold.
Oh, you said you're cold. That's right. You said you're cold.
And there was no other jacket in the building for me to wear.
Right.
But I don't. I don't wear it either because I don't think you need to.
I don't think so.
We carry our presence. We don't need a certain, stigmata around us to let people know who we are. So I do the same thing.
So, Judge Lynn, how do you go from divorce court, go to school at Harvard? How do you end up in Mesa, Arizona?
Oh, what happened was I was a judge in Ohio when I was doing the judge thing in the criminal court. I got the job out in L.A. and I commuted for 2 years, and then the commute got ugly. But I wasn't going to pay Los Angeles prices for nothing. And after leaving Cleveland, Phoenix almost gave me a heart attack with the prices. But so I was going to live either here or Vegas because I needed a 1-hour flight to the gig. So I just flew out, picked a place in Mesa, and we moved.
Wow. So how long you been in Arizona?
Since 2007.
Oh, wow.
Long time.
Oh, so you're zoning.
Almost, because there are very few natives out here. Yeah. Very few natives.
Well, one of the things we want to talk about, right, was because right now we got that health vibe. Where we talk about marriages, mental health, stress, anxiety.
How much it plays into the everyday medical community.
Also, I like that off air here we kind of popped up the election anxiety.
Right.
There's a lot of that going on. right?
It's the time of the year.
And the thing is that's my thing is mental health should always be a part of the health conversation. And, we have a society where, Mr. Williams killed Ms. Kellerman at Taco Bell in Stowe, Ohio, because he was upset. We're in a position where our emotionality is so surface and it is so extreme with all of the social media. It's becoming a real problem for us to manage our feelings. I think, how you're supposed to go to the physical doctor every year? I think you should go to a psychiatrist every year or a counselor every year. Everybody just say, hey, what's happening in there? Is there a problem? Is something ticking a little slow? Is it ticking too fast? There's nothing wrong with having a gear wobbling as long as you know which one it is and what to do when it starts to go.
Speaking of that, I'm just curious about in your career of being a judge and a lawyer, are there any cases, like if you're going to bed, let's say it's 9 o'clock at night and you're going to bed, you're by yourself and you're just thinking about stuff. Are there any terrible cases just pop in your head? You go, you remember this one, I can't believe that happened. I can't believe I had to see these pictures. I can't believe I saw this person crying in court. Is there anything that just sticks with you from your past?
I remember having this dude in court on a murder charge. He killed his girlfriend. No, he killed his mother, and his girlfriend talked him into it. And the girlfriend was there, and she was talking to me, and I could tell that she's just very manipulative, just very, very manipulative. And she had said something about being pregnant at the time, and I'm saying, well, you've got a lot of problems. I don't want to hear about that right now. We were doing this, we're doing that, because she was charged with something minor. He was charged with and she came back before me, and I can't remember why, and she said, I got the abortion like you told me to.
Whoa.
Just because I said, we're not.
She said it to you?
First thing she said to me.
And that sticks with you?
Yeah. I mean, not that she did it, but she was doing that to that dude and got him to kill his mother. This is how she runs her life, is she runs around, she gets into people's feelings and makes them do stuff. To me, I was floored by that personality, though I am not anymore. And I just found it extraordinary.
But he was on trial. She wasn't, right?
He was. I was just doing a preliminary hearing to kick him up to another court.
Oh, so you didn't.
She had small charges. He had a big charge.
But when you hear all that, you can't do anything. When you see something like that, and you can't go, you're in contempt or you're whatever. You can't throw any power to the person that's not being.
No.
Dang.
No. I mean, if they act up in there, but
how screwed up you got to be to kill your mom?
And have your girlfriend talk you into it.
Yeah, there's a lot of that.
It's your mother.
I know, man. Was she a bad mom?
This kind of goes right back to what you were saying earlier about, you have your annual physical checkup. We need an annual mental checkup. But to do that, we've got to change our system because we do not have enough providers. We do not have adequate access to mental health in our country. We had Dr. Shuley on a little while ago, who's a board-certified psychiatrist who really speaks to these things as well. It's a near impossible task to meet the needs of the community. And I think a lot of it does fall on the medical providers to be that somewhat in between mental health provider sometimes, and they're stressed to find the amount of time to listen appropriately.
Yeah, and I think that insurance has something to do with it too because of the lack of parity. You break your foot, but you're not feeling too well in the head, or whether or not what they're going to cover. It's always more difficult to get it covered. And when I was a judge in Cleveland, I saw so many people who were mentally ill were in there because they were mentally ill. If you have a heart attack and fall down and a bus has to stop, they take you to a hospital. If you're having a psychotic episode and you sit down in the middle of the street and do that, they take you to jail.
Right.
And what I was trying to do was get a first responders mental health team for all the local courts. Because if you were in the major court, they had a whole floor just dedicated to the mentally ill. But we had no resources. And I would have people come in. I'll never forget this guy because he came over to the house to thank me, and I was gone. But
He came to your house?
no, the family member. What happened was there was a whole family there, one family member, and he was crazy. Well, I shouldn't say crazy. I call myself crazy all the time.
He was
that's why
disturbed.
He was disturbed. He had mental health issues, and he couldn't afford his meds. You know, this is back in the 1990s, and they just didn't have any. And he goes, "Can you put me in county jail? Don't put me in city jail. Put me in county jail. Max me out, so they will med me up, because in county jail, they will pay for your meds." And his family member came and thanked me for it, because I put him in jail longer than I should have, but he wanted to get right. And I figure my job is to get things as right as I can be. And if he needed 6 months to get right, that's what I was going to do.
So are you still a lawyer? Like, can you still practice?
I kept my license up for years after I went on TV, and then I let it go. So I could go and start it back up by taking all the continuing legal education. If I did that, I could do it. But right now, my status is on hold. I'm frozen.
So what was it like? So you went to Harvard, right?
Right.
Is that Harvard Law? Is that how? I don't
Harvard
know.
undergrad.
Oh, wow. Whoa, man. So you're like really smart.
Oh, I don't know.
Yeah. So what's that like? Do you get a letter in the mail?
I'm talking to a doctor. Let me tell you what I did. My parents told my sister and I, since we were this big, that you're going to Ivy League schools and you're going to be physicians. Now, you can pick any Ivy League school you want. You can pick any kind of physician you want. But that's what you two were doing. So my sister toddled off to Dartmouth. She's a neurologist. Wow. I went to Harvard. I partied so hard. Do you hear me? I had to drop all the hard courses, became an English major, and it was like my senior year. And Daddy called and said, "Yo, what you doing?" And I said, I don't know. And he said, "If you don't go to graduate school," because Daddy paid for it, Dartmouth and Harvard. "If you don't go to graduate school, you got to get a job." I ran and took the LSAT. Got into law school, went to Penn Law, didn't go to class there, but wasn't a doctor. But my sister, who did go to class, she is a board-certified neurologist.
Are you and
so
her
I'm
close?
the family failure.
The failure. But are you and your sister close?
Not really.
Really?
Oddly enough, no. She's only a year or so ahead of me, but we were very different people.
I just knowing that your parents told you to go Ivy League, like I just can't imagine. Our son, we have an 18. We have 3 boys. Our youngest is 18, and he got an email that he got into U of A, and my wife started crying. U of A, and I had said to him, because he's got like a 4.0, I was like, just literally before knowing we were going to talk to you, I was like, "Hey, you should apply to Harvard." And I can't imagine what that would be like to get an acceptance letter to Harvard.
I was in the bathtub. And the reason I know I was in the bathtub is because the letter is wrinkled. Because I got in early decision, so it was right after. It was like the only school I had applied to. And I got so excited, I threw the letter up. I jumped out of the tub and just ran down the house, and the letter was just bobbing in the water.
Unbelievable. Hey, are there celebrities that you've had to, any famous people you've had to be a judge or a lawyer for?
No.
I'd be
I've
able
met
to
some
say
famous
that.
people, but
You could say that, couldn't you? And it's not like a medical thing, is it?
well, if I wouldn't tell if I had represented them, but I wouldn't, because I wasn't that kind of lawyer. You know what I mean? I did corporate law before I did criminal law as a judge. You know. So
What about famous cases? I mean, there had to be what got the attention of divorce court people.
Who knows? I was on the bench one day, and I got off, and it was back in the pink. You know, while you were Fox called, they want to know if you want to be on TV, and I never got a straight answer of who did it, why they did it. I know they had they did have an article on me in the paper, and what the article was, some reporter was bored, so he came in the court to see what was happening. It just so happened that there was a group of black folk and a group of Arabs Arabs were all on one side, the blacks were all on the other side. There was a man on trial for disorderly conduct because one of the black kids went into the Arab store and got a cookie bar, and the whole neighborhood turned out. So instead of just adjudicating that guy, I said, I'm not interested in you. I went down there and I said, listen, what are you doing? This lady gets up, she's pregnant. I said, where are you going? She says, I'm smoking a cigarette. I said, not on my watch. Sit down and give that baby a break. And then I talked to everybody about, what did you do? So with your 35-year-old self, you went over there and told that man that, now, if an 11-year-old had said what your son said to him, and by the time I was done, I had everybody laughing, and I had everybody feeling stupid. And I said, now, the reason I did this, because I know you people are going home, and you live near each other, and you go to that store. So this has got to end today. He wrote a article about me 9 months later when he didn't have anything to do, and I think they might have seen that.
Okay, because you're kind of known also for some of your weird or different punishments, right? Like, did you write an essay
weird
or something?
Weird is good.
Weird?
Weird
Yeah,
is
like what
weird.
are some of the punishments you gave people?
I had a friend, Judge Chickanetti, was way better than that I do. I used to make them listen to the Barney song. If you had,
That's torture.
Remember Too Loud, thump, 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 in people who drive and the drive noises.
The bass?
6 hours of Barney.
That was a punishment?
I bet they never did it again.
They didn't do it in Cleveland Heights. Or mostly what I did, though, is I realized I was too little too late, and I would start groups for young men and young women to kind of like redirect them because they weren't emotionally healthy. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Well, then let's shift gears to
Go fast forward to marriage boot camp.
marriage boot camp.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
First off, did you come up with the idea from divorce court and seeing what you were able to do and help people before they got to that point and said, wait a minute, we need to back this up. We need to hit them in an earlier time.
You didn't understand something. I'm the world's biggest. I fail up, ass backwards all the time. Someone got bored on Marriage Boot Camp. There was a whole show. It was introduced by this couple in Dallas, and they did one segment. Oh, let's do a divorce court segment. I went in there. I did so well. They said, let's make her a regular. And then when they fell out with the originators of the show, me and another guy took it over. So I was in the right place at the right time and just fell in it.
Then what's the hip hop one?
We had Marriage Boot Camp, and we used to have a couple people from these kind of reality shows and this one, and then we decided to have all hip hop, all from the hip hop industry.
Like who?
Oh, CeeLo Green and Soulja Boy. And
Oh my God, Soulja Boy, tell him.
Waka Flocka.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
But they're coming in for
Styles
marriage boot camp? Soulja Boy how to turn out with Soulja Boy.
Listen. He was so funny.
Yeah.
He used to always say, like that to me when we walked by. My queen. He was hilarious. He was just absolutely. They all were.
Are these shows on YouTube right now? Like where was
Hip Hop Boot Camp? Look it up.
That's what it's called, Hip Hop Boot Camp.
Hip Hop Boot Camp.
And what channel, what network, what app?
I don't know. I always watch it on YouTube.
Was it? Is it a while ago? Yeah.
No, it's still there.
But do you still do it?
Oh no. A lot of that stuff. When COVID came, that was a huge production. You would have 100 people on set at any given time. It was just too hard. Mm-hmm. We just couldn't do it.
I think when you bring up COVID, that's another thing where a lot of the mental health, right? People started going.
Mental health.
It did, right? What do you think?
It broke us.
What do you mean? How so?
I think it broke us. I think we lost the ability to calibrate and regulate ourselves out in the larger community. We got isolated. We got what we want. We got to drinking too much. We had too much to eat, and then we got irritated. And now we're all out here, and now that we're on social media that, you got rage bait. Everybody's looking at that, so everybody is amped up. We got cortisol, adrenaline, everything is just rushing and rolling all the time. And we were home, and we lost, I think, we lost a bit of our ability to regulate in company. We're all siloed now. You don't think exactly what I think.
Yes.
And if you don't think it is at the same level that I think it, and
Then
if
you're
you
wrong.
don't think about it quick enough, I hate you. I can't talk to you. You can't tell me nothing, and I won't deal with you. That's where we are, I believe.
It's something we've never seen before in society. So we
Isn't it
do
new?
not know how to navigate this effectively. And I think a lot in the medical community right now, we're trying to deal with that because we're on the front lines, right? The ER doctors are on the front lines. The first responders are on the front lines of a lot of this. And I don't think we've been given the tools to understand how to help people out of that. And, you know, we're talking about marriage boot camp. I mean, so much of this infighting that's happening within the family unit. You're talking about being siloed in your home, but then in the home, you've got a new level of kind of dysregulation and dysfunction amongst the people there. We've got to find a new way around this, a new norm,
Right.
a better norm,
Right.
Because the new norm is not working.
And one of the things, and the reason I got caught up with Tyler and all of this kind of stuff is we have to make practicing our emotionality a norm. You know what I mean? To practice, I have to practice being secure. I'm very nervous. I'm very shy. I tend towards depression. My mother thinks I'm bipolar. My father was definitely bipolar. All of his brothers were bipolar, so much so that none of them did well. They just, so I didn't have the option of not managing myself emotionally at all periods of time. And my thing is, if I can take this shy, reclusive chick and turn her into somebody who does this for a living, everybody can take who they are and make it a calmer, less excitable. Everybody's you know what I mean? You can be better, so there's no more of this getting shot at Taco Bell. Everybody talks mental health after a shooting for about a week.
You're saying you're shy?
Extraordinarily
You would never know it.
reclusive. That's why my sister and I didn't get along, because she was very outgoing.
Well, wow. I mean, I see you as extremely outgoing.
Not at all.
Because you're here with cameras and you're on. But when you go, if you're at the
working.
grocery store, yeah.
This is the first time I left the house this week.
Wow.
And my son had to drive me. I don't like to drive, scared to fly. Do it. Don't like it.
Have to be driven to do it.
I think it's
Yes.
I think it's very relatable what you're saying. I feel very similar to what you're saying.
So, do normal things unnerve you?
Unnerve me? Or what does that unnerve me? Like they nerve me. If normal things like I don't want to do anything.
Oh, well, there you go. We're together.
Yeah, I like to stay home and not do it. I don't like to go on vacation. I'd rather just stay home.
Don't
But I
wanna
do
go.
it because of my family,
Right.
or I do it because I do a radio show. Like I do a radio show, I sit in a little room and I talk to a couple people, right? And then there's people listening. But when I have to go somewhere representing the radio show, it gets sick to my stomach.
Me too.
Yeah.
Me too.
I never thought. I just figured it's someone got to deal with.
Yeah. And it is. And it's, it's just.
Like if I'm at a concert and they're like, "Hey, go on stage and bring on Justin Bieber," I'm like, "Oh my god, why do I have to do that? Can somebody else do that?" You know what I mean? I have to do TV. I'm on TV every day. I get sick to my stomach before I know. I have to put myself in some zone, kind of, right? You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, okay,
right.
I got to go on TV. All right, hold on, let's go. All right, I'm ready. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. Mine is a little different. It's like, if you ask me if there's 10,000 people in a room and said, "Hey, the speaker didn't show up. Could you give a speech?" No problem. But don't take me to a cocktail party.
Oh yeah, no.
I tried to.
I'm in a corner,
I tried to fall into the wall. I'm ducking under the couch. I don't want to talk to nobody.
I'm in the corner, or I go in the bathroom and wait as long as I can.
Or, go around the corner and hide and sip my little drink forever.
Let me tell you how nervous I get. I was hoping you were going to cancel. Okay. Like but then when it's over, I'm like, that was awesome.
That was so much
I'm so
fun.
glad I win. But up until then, I'm hoping that whatever. If I get invited somewhere, I'll say yes. And then when I'm like, why did I say yes to that? And I got to go to this thing. I get sick to my stomach, but I get through it. So then with all this, I think we should talk about election anxiety, because I think that's fascinating. It goes along the lines of what you were saying. Like somebody made a post on our radio show's Instagram. They made a cool little video. Someone on our show, like the 4 people dancing and having a good time. This is the way we feel when we come to work in the morning. And someone made a comment. They're Trump supporters. They know this. And someone goes, how do you know that? And they go, they follow Trump. And then I was like, I think we follow Biden too. I think we follow like we follow, there's a Mormon leader that I really like that I follow. I'm not Mormon. Just because I follow someone on Instagram and all hell broke loose. Like, what is with people?
Yeah. I mean, I think we're just severely siloed. I mean, they want you to declare a position. Like, remember when all of the universities had to state a position on, I think it was Gaza? Maybe.
I think it was Gaza,
and that sister lost her job at Harvard. It was a dumb thing she said, but it's just everybody. You got to state your position. And
it's decisive. It's divisive. Sorry, it's divisive, and we've never been in a position where we've been this divisive as a culture.
Yeah. And nuance is complicated. The fine print is where your humanity is, and you can't read the fine print across the room. But nobody's getting close anymore to read the fine print.
Which statement? Which one?
Where she said that you can't read the fine print across the room. I like that. That speaks loudly.
So you've got to be able to talk to people who don't agree with you. And you can't talk to them by saying, he's an idiot, you're an idiot. I don't know why I keep pointing at you. I think it's because you have beautiful red hair.
Well, thank you.
And I love a red hair. But anyway, not in that way. Oh, Lord, where am I going? What was I talking about?
We were just talking about how to connect and talk to people. And once again, social media, you also can't have those conversations.
You can't talk at people. What you have to do is start where people are and then slowly walk them home. My mother told me this. I was on the bench. Some guy he was getting ready to go for domestic violence. So I give him what Judge friend of mine calls the acid rain dance. I hollered at him, bam, put him in jail. And my mother happened to be in there just checking out, seeing what all that money went that they paid for college. And she says, Lynn, let me tell you what you did wrong. And I said, well, what did I do wrong, Mommy? And she said, you didn't help that woman at all. Now he's in jail thinking about that B he it and the other B who put him in jail. What you should have done, and this is what I did from then on, I'd start saying, what did she do? And then he'd say a little something. Well, tell me, did that upset you? And I'd get them. And they would know that I knew how upset they were, which is why they did what they did. And then I said, now let me tell you why you're going to jail. I can get them to laugh. I've had a few of them write me afterwards, not asking for shortening time. He said, I just want to tell you, I'm not a bad guy. I made it so it mattered to them what they thought. Not all of them, not most of them, but every once in a blue moon, if you can catch somebody, sit him down and stop him, you've rescued a family. Mm-hmm.
Well, you got him to own what he did versus just accusatory.
Accusatory and fight. Mm-hmm. People defend. When you attack, people defend. But if you show them that you understand their emotionality, they were upset, then you can help them change their behavior, because incarceration without elucidation is pointless. If we would go by the recidivism rates, we'd all lose our jobs, because it's like a revolving door.
Is there a movie or TV show that's exactly like Court that you go, that's real? Ooh, I stumped the judge.
Yeah.
Is there? I object. You object.
Most of them aren't even.
You're out of order. This whole courtroom is out of order.
Yeah, right. No,
wasn't that A Few Good Men or something?
No, that's And Justice for All, Al Pacino.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
A Few Good Men is you can't handle the truth.
The truth, yeah. That's one of my favorite scenes of all time. But no, because I think real court is really boring. I enjoy watching it, but people don't.
Like, do you ever put anyone in jail or prison for contempt? I'll hold you in contempt.
Oh, I've had to put people in contempt. One guy he was there on I remember his whole name, his middle initial, and everything. He threatened to attack me because over a speeding ticket. And I was like, oh no, you got to go to jail. But the best one, I will tell you, I was at a jury trial, And this guy was stalking his counselor. And so it was a jury trial. He was representing himself. So the prosecutor got up and voir dired the people. Now, they asked the questions. You say, hey, who do you know? Just ask so you can pick your jury. And then I said, okay, Mr. Smith, you may voir dire the jury. And he stood up and he said, do you believe in Jesus Christ? It happened to be we had all Christians there that day, so everybody threw up their hand. And he said, as long as you believe in me, I'm good with all of you. And sat down.
Wow.
So, this is the first time I've ever had jurors that were released come back. So I had to do an exam to see if he was competent to stand trial. The bizarre thing about that is competency is determined legally as follows. You understand the nature of the proceedings. You understand what's involved, who's doing what, and you understand the nature of the offense, and you can participate meaningfully in your defense. Now, unless I could prove to him I could prove he wasn't Jesus, because I ain't seen Jesus. He got the right to believe anything he wants to. I asked him all the pertinent questions. He knew everything that was going on. He knew what penalty was. He knew everything. We had to go forward with the trial. He stood up, gave an opening statement talking about, not only am I Jesus, I was Adam in the garden. And that man, the guy who he was stalking, screwed Eve. Wow. It's a good story. I don't know if it had anything to do with what
Did he go to jail?
Yeah.
Jail or the psych unit?
Well, he needed.
I mean,
mental.
psych unit.
I couldn't because I couldn't adjudicate. First guy I ever had to go. I remember his name too. And we were going to adjudicate him. Trying to get him pleading no contest by reason of insanity, and we sent him to a psychiatrist, and I kept the note. It said, Mr. Smith refuses to plead not guilty by reason of insanity because he is under the delusional belief that he is not insane.
Well, yeah.
That's the answer I got.
That's a fact.
Are there cases that are world famous that you look at and you would have ruled differently?
Not that I know about.
Like if you go at the OJ trial, which by the way, Judge Ito, whatever happened to that guy? He was like so famous, and he goes like, "What happens to you judges?"
Yeah, I had cocktails with. I used to hang out with Marsha Clark and Chris Darden because we were doing a show together. I don't know what show we were doing together.
You know,
Why
Chris
was I with
Darden, my friend Kevin Rowe from Lerner and Rowe. Chris Darden was his professor, his law professor.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, he was an interesting dude.
Yeah,
he
really
was an
like him.
interesting
Yeah.
dude. He really, really was. And it was just fascinating. They gave me a lot of behind-the-scenes stuff, which they swore me to secrecy, so I
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Oh,
don't leave it
come
alone.
It's probably on a Netflix special.
I know. Probably.
But like I was just watching the
They
Lacey
gonna-
Peterson documentary. You see that one, the Lacey Peterson, Scott Peterson one?
Yes. Oh, but I watch all the trials. Jodi Arias had me
Yeah.
by the throat, and I was
Right.
living in Mesa at the time.
Oh,
it
yeah.
was
Yeah.
fantastic.
The guy I worked with used to write her notes. He was one of those crazies.
Oh,
He'd write her letters and stuff.
man.
Yeah. And then there's another show right now I'm watching on Max. It's called Born Evil. Have you seen it? It's terrifying. It's about a serial killer. It's true documentary. A serial killer that we don't know about, but they've got him, and it's just awful. And I have to watch it in increments in the afternoon because I can't sleep.
Yeah, can't do it at night.
I can't sleep. Yeah, yeah. So when you're home alone, chilling out, I know you're always active, writing books and stuff. And what do you watch on TV?
What do I watch? I watch a lot of true crime. I watch a lot of serial killer stuff.
Well, then you got to watch Born Evil.
No, I am.
On Max.
Mindhunter just.
Mindhunter.
Mindhunter.
I'm watching that right now.
Oh,
You are?
man.
I'm a
They
little late to
stopped
the.
doing it. David Lynch said he's not going to do anymore, and there's a big protest, and I think they're trying to do a season 3.
I hope
was so
because I
good.
was so mad when they stopped.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness! And I read a lot about Kemper and all those guys
Ed
and the
Kemper.
ones that started out.
Yeah.
And it was so true to life.
I would pause it and then Google everything.
I do the same
it's
thing,
like
yeah.
the actors are identical. The Ed Kemper guy that plays him looks exactly like him.
And
the B2K killer guy.
all of it.
Woo.
That
You're
was
probably
a-
not there yet.
I am.
As a heck
I
of
am
a
there.
show.
I am there. I just
As a
started
heck of
season
a
2.
show.
Yeah.
I really love that.
So you know me, I'm sitting next to somebody else on the couch, right? Who has that background. I'm like, is any of this real? Is this how the FBI does it? And he's like, yeah, that's exactly how we do it.
Oh, yeah,
He's a profiler.
Her husband, you got to meet that guy. Oh, yeah.
So it's just funny because it's like you always want to fact check that kind of stuff. Is it TV drama or is it
what
real?
a
And he says it's actually
fascinating
quite
game.
real. So
Her dude?
Yeah. Wow.
we were doing that with Linus too, with the CIA.
Linus, did you watch that?
No, I haven't seen that.
Oh, you might want to check that one out. It's not quite courtroom drama, but
So with are you have new books coming out? Are you writing? Because you said you sit like that when you
I
write.
have 3 books that are already out. My Mother's Rules, which is just an assessment of. I thought my mother was an emotional genius, and how she taught me to act in opposition to how I feel, so I could get out of the house, and how those lessons helped me on the bench. Then I did another book called Making Marriage Work, because I was in the middle of a 30-some-odd year marriage. And then I wrote a book, Dear Sonali, for daughters, because I never had a daughter. I married a man with 4 sons, and I had 2 more boys. And I was like, well, this brother can't do girls, so I'm never going to get a daughter. I'm not trying again. So I wrote a book for 20-year-old girls, and now I'm writing my first novel. I ain't going to tell you about it, because if it don't work out, I'm throwing it right in the trash.
Okay, so let's talk about marriage and 30-year marriage. And what was the marriage book? It was called
Making Marriage Work.
So how do you make marriage work? What's the
We're
key?
not going to talk about that because he died last year, and I'm not.
Oh.
I'm not good.
Oh, I
yet
understand.
At all.
Oh, I'm sorry. But you can't tell us how to make it work before that? It's in the book. Communication.
I have a whole chapter on speaking man and teaching women how to speak man, and
That's
how
so important.
man to speak woman. You know what I mean? I was one day, he and I was home, and I had one kid who's a wild man. In one room doing homework with him, he was about 8. And I had another one in another room doing homework because the little one would bother the big one. I was cooking, and my husband was watching a ball game, and I'm sitting there, and I see lights and sirens, and my husband looks at me and says, "The police are here." Doesn't move. I get up, I'll go to the door. Guy puts his foot in the door. Police cop pushes me back. "What's up?" My son, the one that messes around, did a 911 hang-up call, and they knew it was my house. So they rolled because they thought somebody was in there.
Oh, man.
It was hot. Then my husband looks in the refrigerator and says, "There's no milk." And I was about to light that brother up. And I said, "I'm going to give him enough room to hang himself." And I said, "Could you get some?" And he said, "Sure, baby, what else you need?" He didn't notice. He did not look around. You got to make a solid, hard ass. "Baby, I need you to and they will.
It's communication.
Yeah.
I say her and I have been married I'd say almost 30 years, and I think it's communication. Here's an example. I'll never forget this. I had an iced tea in the refrigerator, and she says to me, "Are you not going to drink your iced tea?" And I was like, "Well, it's in the refrigerator. I'm going to," but I was like, "Do you want it? Like, if you want it, you can have it." But that's not what she said. She wasn't like, "Can I have your iced tea?" She was like, "Are you going to drink your iced tea?" Well, the answer to that is, "I'm going to, yeah. But if you want it, you can have it." You see what I'm saying? There's these women. You women play
We
these.
do it all the time.
You don't
And let me tell you
communicate
why.
properly.
It's like we're driving in the car, and I'm not going to say, I'm hungry." I say, "Baby, are you hungry?" It's what we do. It's how we try not to be pushy. So we do. We come in on your light. So
except they don't hear light.
they don't hear light. So because if you say, "I'm hungry," it's like, "Oh, here she goes getting like, baby, are you hungry?" You know what I mean? You kind of come into it slow. But then again, like, I was in the car and my husband was driving. We were in the parking lot going up and up. Yo, baby, here's a parking spot. Here's a parking spot. He's going up and up. And my mother was in the back seat. And she could see because I was getting crisp. And she tapped me on the back and said, men do that.
She was a wise woman.
Without judgment. They do it.
That happened yesterday.
We ask a question when we want something. That's what we do. You just can't. They're weird and we're odd. And that's what it is.
Every woman
Don't
listening
get
to
mad.
that has said, I've been in the car when that happened.
Happened to me yesterday. Her and I were going to go ahead get coffee, and I'm pulling in the parking lot. She goes, there's a space right there. I'm like, I know, and there's a space right here. I'm going into this space right here. I'm like, why are you bringing it? I'm driving. I know. Your mother, was she like a psychiatrist or something? Like
She's just extraordinarily emotionally intelligent. My father was bipolar, badly so. And he was unmedicated his entire life. And I know one time, like, my mother didn't put all of the shades down equidistantly around the house. This is back in the 60s, right? So the phone was still connected to the wall. And I was sitting in the kitchen, and the phone would ring. Mom, pick it up. He'd yell. She'd put the phone down. 5 minutes later, phone would ring. Pick it up. He'd yell. Put the phone down for hours. And I said, Mommy, why do you keep picking up the phone? He says, because as long as he's at work, as long as he's on the phone, I know he's not on his way home. It seems to be enough for him to yell at me from there, and I have things to do.
Jeez. What did he do for a living?
He was a lawyer.
Oh, wow.
He was a lawyer. He used to went to Bluefield State. He used to go 2 weeks in the coal mine, then 2 weeks at in undergrad. 2 weeks in the coal mine, 2 weeks in undergrad, and then he went to World War II. And he was born in 1919. My grandmother was born in 1886, and she went to college because she was the smart one. My grandfather had 2 wives. The first one was just regular because all of her kids are regular. And I remember the second one of them that was married to the second wife when I was pregnant. And she says, what is it? And I says, it's a boy. And she says, that's too bad because there's something wrong with all the Toler boys. And they are. They were extraordinarily brilliant and just crazy. And my mother was able to manage him and me and my sister. And we got done. Wasn't nobody mad. Everybody got where they were going. She did. She died. She lived 20 years after he died off the interest of the income of the trust fund he left for my sister and I.
Wow.
She was comfy.
But did you ever go to him for legal advice, or when you were on a case or you were doing something?
Daddy don't do things like that.
Really?
No. He was either solving a problem, but you couldn't. No. He was an unusual dude. He really, really was. Very smart, very, very a friend of his came and said, I'm going to divorce my wife. He's got a lot of money, this and that. And he goes, you can divorce her if you want to, but you can't use me. She's a good woman. You need to stay with her.
Oh, wow.
That kind of dude.
Wow. Are any of your kids following your profession?
No, one of them is he does something about coordinating systems in new homes, security. I don't know. He does something about housing. Anyway, new homes, and that one, I'm loving him. I'm loving him hard.
That's funny. We have a son that we think is going to graduate next year from U of A, our oldest son. And I was telling my wife, I was like, I don't know what he's going to do when he graduates, but we're going to be about empty nesters for maybe 6 months. Mm-hmm. And then I think he's probably going to move back into the house. And I'm okay with it.
Yeah. We downsized just to get him out, and it didn't work.
What do you do for, one of the things with this podcast that we're doing is, it's health and nutrition too. We get into it. Do you exercise? Do you eat right?
What's your practice?
I do exercise. I walk uphill on the treadmill. a lot, and I run outside with the dogs a lot, and I don't know.
But do you get into that stuff? Do you look at, okay, this is how old I am. They're saying that I should lift weights. I should do this. I should do that. You don't.
Do you follow any trends?
No, but I always get caught up into things like when in my 30s to my 40s, I became a black belt in Taekwondo. That took 10 years. And so you have to do that every 3 days. And then when I came here, I played tennis for years. And then, I was so I usually get into stuff that is physical. Now I'm going to try to do dancing or something. So, because I used to be a dancer back in the day. But I do something that's physical.
You move.
I move, yeah.
Right, that's the thing.
It's the most important thing, absolutely. Right. Yeah. What do you do anything specifically for stress release? Because we've talked a lot about the stressors right now out there. So is there anything you practice? People talk about doing grounding. They talk about meditation. Is there anything you found that helps you there?
Oh, a million things. I have a worry book, I worry if I'm worrying about something, I have to write it all down. And
so you journal?
Not quite, because I know if I wrote it down, I won't have to remember it because I know whatever worry is down. And then I have to go back in a week, and then I have to write down what actually happened, and then you feel stupid. So I go around making myself feel stupid about my worries, so that lets me worry less and less and less and less. If I'm upset in the morning, I have a playlist for the type of upset I am to take me from I start with CeeLo Green's F.U., and then I move to Anita Baker. So
yeah.
And by the time we get to Anita, I'm singing. Mm-hmm. I'm just laying out Whitney Houston. They can't do anything with me. I have sticky notes and stuff on my computer. Are you worrying or are you working? I started that when I was a judge. My husband used to call me the Night Stalker, because I used to walk around the house all night wondering if I did the right thing that day. But I have a lot of them. I do have a lot of them. I do have to, I got 2 dogs. Sometimes I just have to go outside with the dogs and just run and gun and carry on. And then I always say this expression, everything's a problem until you're sick, and then sick is the only problem you have. I'm not sick. Let's keep it moving. Mm-hmm.
That's good. I don't understand the worry book. Can you tell me that again? How does the worry book work?
Worry book. You can keep it by my bed when I'm worrying. Obsessive thoughts.
And you write down whatever.
Write them down, and then have a little thing online on the page, and then I write down what happened afterwards. And it's hilarious.
So you write. So because if you write it down, it's kind of out of your head.
It's out of my head.
Right.
Sometimes I hang on to stuff because I think I don't want to forget all of the different ways I could possibly solve this problem, because that's what I do. I chase problems. So if I put down everything I thought, I know I have the list, and it's exhaustive. Sometimes by the morning, I already think it's stupid. But if this situation occurs and it's not a problem, which it usually isn't.
So then you compare what really happened to the worry, and you're like, that was so stupid. I can't believe I was worrying about that.
It's just amazing.
That's awesome.
Yeah, she quantifies the problem.
That's awesome.
Because it's only a problem in the moment.
I know. There's so many. I read a lot of that stuff. The memes that tell you don't worry about stuff. Everything you're worried about now. A year from now, what you're worrying about right now is not going to matter.
Right.
But the sick thing is dead on. I'm terrified of that. Yeah. Oh, man. Well, thanks for jumping on our podcast.
Thanks for having me. Yeah. Can I say something about my podcast?
Yes.
Absolutely. Go right ahead.
I got a new podcast coming on. It's on. We've already had 2 episodes. It's called Feeling on Purpose. And the whole thing is I'm trying to teach others what my mother taught me, which was the ability to think your way through how you feel so you can do what you need to do, even if you don't feel like doing it. And deeper still, it allows you to help reach behind and manage other people. Because if you understand how other people feel, despite what they say, you're going to have an easier time understanding what they need and being able to, start where they are and walk them home to you. So,
is it available on all platforms?
Yes, it's available on all platforms and YouTube.
Oh, so it's a video podcast as well,
yes,
an audio podcast as well. All right, man, that's great. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. It was fun.